Don't do it.
It happened, guys. We're on.
Hello.
BitClout is live. I could not be happier.
All right. Hello, everybody. We're live, right? Yeah?
We are.
We are? Okay. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Delta Phi. Really, really nice timing today on the markets and Powell and everything. Like, I woke up this morning just pretty much looking at all my bags, just wondering if I was the biggest fucking idiot in the world. That's typically like the feeling you have right when a bottom is near, or when you actually are confirmed to be the biggest idiot in the world. And it looks like that the former is what's going on here. So I'm cautiously optimistic, moving forward. I think we've got a couple months of really, really good crypto price action ahead of us. So, what are you guys feeling about this?
Yeah, I agree. I think so much risk in the market and so much positioning and like thought was on this Fed meeting today at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And what were they going to do? Because there's been a lot of movement in the market. The 10-year and the bond market's been extremely active. The dollar index, is it going to continue higher? Is it going to sell off? And I was so happy. I couldn't believe how accommodative and dovish the Fed report was, and Powell. So dovish. It was literally like, we are supporting this thing.
Rob, what exactly does dovish mean? Because I know they use the terms dovish, and then there's also hawkish. What's the difference between those two things?
Also curious.
Yeah. Well, if you were in a closed area with those two birds, which one would you be more at ease with?
With the dove.
Yeah. So it is just pure easy money. We are going to stimulate. We are going to try to get inflation. We are going to pump your bags. Like, it is risk on, and we don't care. Like, we not only do we want inflation to be over 2%, we want to see it sustained there over 2% for a period of time before they do anything. Like, he basically said, we have not been able to get inflation really to 2%, which I don't know if that's necessarily true, but they are dedicated to get inflation over 2%, which is just like, they're not stopping. They're buying the same amount of bonds, and they actually started talking about it like even more easy money. It was bullish, like point blank. Any bots that were tracking this thing, they immediately bought everything pretty much risk on.
Nice. Well, that's definitely what happened to Bitcoin, because it just confirmed a 4-hour bullish divergence, bullish market structure off of the pump chaser zone. So we've got bullish market structure now on Bitcoin, which is always nice to see.
These are real, like, bull market, up market types of things, in terms of, like, if we were in a bear market and you got dovish news, you'd see the rip, and then you'd just see it gravity take it and send it back. And I think that's something you really got to pay attention to, like, in the longer time frame, that we may be feeling like there's no doubt that everybody who's sitting on multiple positions right now, like, you've had those feelings over the weekend, or you have them maybe in the last couple days, like, things feel a little heavy. But this to me is all about, like, now what is the market reaction from here? Does it find value? Does it find real bid? Does it find footing? Or, like, if we were in a downtrend, you'd see this up move, it would feel good for 5 minutes, and then you just start drifting. And that's the stuff that you kind of want to watch out for, I think.
Oh my God. SBF just tweeted about BitClout.
Good boy.
Yeah, he says, I'm so confused. How the fuck does this work? So that's a really good sign, as someone who just aped into some SBF token. That's right, guys. BitClout, for those of you who caught the video yesterday, something we've been talking about on Twitter, has just gone live. And we're going to go check out BitClout Pulse here in a few minutes. That has gotten some nice facelift updates showing hourly changes in price. This is exciting for me because it is the birth of a new market within a new market. So we've now taken crypto, and there's sort of this marriage now between cryptocurrency, social media, Twitter, and celebrities and all that stuff. And, call me crazy, guys, because y'all know I'm a bull in this. I'm excited about it. Always, caveat emptor, there's risk. But why I'm so excited is because it's going to potentially open the door to the millions, hundreds of millions of fans that follow these celebrities. And if they endorse this, if they claim their accounts and get in there, every one of those fans is going to want to hold one of their creator coins, presumably. And to do that, they're going to have to buy, you guessed it, Bitcoin. And that is going to have a positive impact on the ecosystem as far as growth and adoption goes. And then they have to buy BitClout, and then they get to buy the creator coin. So I see this potentially being a massive on-ramp for new users in the space. And that's pretty much why I'm so fired up.
Apparently, I already have a coin, and my coin is worth $1,350. So I'm not quite sure how that happened. I'm not quite sure how how anybody's going to get this money. I'm looking at the platform, like it looks interesting, like, monetizing Twitter accounts and creator accounts. Like it's definitely, an interesting idea. I am curious how these coins have any value, like why the fuck is, my coin worth $1,000, basically, I mean, is that by default? Has somebody bought this? What's going on here?
I bought some of your coin, so I had a little bit to do with that. I was like, man, I'm gonna go live with them. I'm gonna tell you about it. I want to buy some of your coin. It starts at, I believe, $1, and then anyone who buys, like a bonding curve, you buy a bunch cheap, and then it gets more and more and more expensive, thereby incentivizing early buying and adoption, but also kind of tapering off near the highs, so to speak. I think, again, like I was saying in the video yesterday, it's so incentivized kind of at its core, because like you said, you don't even know what this is, and you already have value locked into your profile, and to go and unlock that value, to interact with that value, you now have to go and tweet it out to all of your followers if you choose to do so. And so what's going to end up happening, presumably, is each time a large account claims it, it's just going to spread, and it's going to spread, and then people are creating their own accounts. And so there's this kind of Bitcoin-esque incentive model where you are paid to play, and to play, you have to tell everyone else that you're playing. So it's really brilliant the way they've thought it up. Probably one of the more exciting concepts that I've come across in the last couple of years with new projects.
I love it because it really, again, it just opens up this kind of agnostic way of thinking about markets.
Let's get it on the chart here. Sorry.
They don't just need to apply to financial assets, and like you're kind of taking, like, everything is an asset now. So a social network, social clout, the value of a profile, the value of a social network has somewhat become, like, I don't mean it, and when I say commodity, like, I don't mean it in like a that it's just become general, but it's something that is truly monetizable. And you think about the different ways that content creators have created value for themselves, and this is just another way. And it also kind of allows the network to, who is supporting it, kind of earn along with it, or I guess if we're looking at it from if we had the ape suit on, like, speculating on it. But it, I think it is just this new way, just like, there's a market for everything. And that's, I think the last 2 years have really shown us that. And I think that this is no different. It's obviously like day 1.5 in terms of launching this, but there's something much bigger here at play that I think could be, kind of like many things we're seeing in crypto, in digital asset technology, a real inflection point. And I think this is no different. Like, think about how long we've been operating under the standard guise of like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and like, what's that been? It's been 10, maybe 12 to 15, 12 to 14 years at this point. Like, it's ripe for disruption, and like the last couple of years have shown us that, like, nothing is off the fucking table right now. So very exciting.
It's like bringing together DeFi, NFTs, and like monetary sovereignty, you know, like it's giving people the control over these creator coins, and they get to do what they want with it. They can incentivize their holders in whatever way they please. I mean, this is just another step down the road of tokenization of things. And I do think that social media, the pedestal, the soapbox that everybody has, unless Twitter bans you, or unless you're kicked off or you don't have access, that soapbox, you can monetize it. And if you're putting out good content, people are going to want it, and you can find ways to monetize it on your own. It's an incredible. It's just.
I like it. It's like, when that what's her name? The girl that sold her bathwater. Who is that?
Belle Delphine.
Belle Delphine. Like, imagine you looking at that and going like, wait, okay, the value of Belle Delphine is now going to go up because she took a bath and bottled her water, and like every crazy motherfucker in the world that thinks that they want to spend money on it is going to do it.
I mean, this is definitely going to become a simp platform. These e-thoughts and these people can, I would imagine, they can say, well, I'll send you nudes or whatever if you own a certain amount of my token.
Which is kind of like the OnlyFans model, right?
Pretty much.
But you actually get to, instead of just a flat subscription, you're kind of speculating on the growth and value of that network. And I think an interesting way to look at it is like, when I first looked at this, the first thing that struck me was like, how do you value it? And so is the value in it, is it value in profile? And so like, if you look at Elon, like what's Elon's value right now? Is it in his profile? Is it 50?
69.9.
But what is how much is locked in the profile?
$10 million locked in his profile.
All right. So like, when you're in price discovery for like, what is the network value? Some way of tying the network value of Elon Musk's social status and clout. And like, so to me, it's a lot less about looking at like that his coin's trading 70,000, but like, is the value and profile indicative of like the kind of the value of his network and the value of his influence? And if you think 10 million is cheap, then a $69,000 coin is cheap.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I am in shock right now. I'm a little stunned. I had Justin's son Tron on my short list because, let's be real, he's got a shitload of money. He loves getting out there. He was bound to adopt this, and I saw his coin like just at the start. It was like under 2K, and I couldn't search for his profile. You had to type it in manually in the URL apparently. Anyways, in the last 4 minutes, he just mooned to 19K. I'm a little butthurt. I'm not buying it right now.
Is there not a way to withdraw from this shit?
You can sell your creator coin back to BitClout, and as of right now, your BitClout sits in the wallet. There is no withdrawal feature at the moment. So, buyer beware. That's what we talked about in the video yesterday. There is no exit ramp as of right now. I would expect something like this to hit an exchange fairly quickly if the volume's there, because that's free money for them. They like money. So I'm
pretty sure there's an
myself.
OTC market. There's an active OTC market as well.
And there is an active OTC market for size. So, I'm not too worried about that right now, but it is definitely something to make sure everyone is aware of. So, yeah, I mean, things are moving. It's day one. It's like hour 2. So I'm not too worried about it. Just kind of sitting, got some bags, got some creator coins. But yeah, that Justin, oh man, Justin's son, that stings. I was literally sitting here like, how do I get him? How do I get him? And then he like 8x'd.
There is going to be, I think stuff's going to blow our mind with what people are going to do with this. Honestly, it's this, you can build on this network. You can build on the blockchain. It just, that's why it reminds me of like DeFi mixed with NFTs and social. People are going to come up with stuff that we've never even thought of, and ways to monetize. There's going to be, I think it's like, it's a marketing person's dream. It's kind of like a carte blanche. You can do whatever you want. So like influencer marketing, I think just got like a fat pitch, and people are going to be out there figuring out ways to utilize this, and it's exciting. It's
it's decentralized, right? So I mean, you literally can go and yeah, you can go and imagine once it's, once it's 100% open,
and think about
you can integrate with it.
The centralized version, like there will be centralized platforms that'll do stuff like this, and there will be others that'll embrace the decentralized nature of this, and they'll build to this, and it's great, really.
And quick reminder, guys, if you're noticing the black flickering screen, I've got a few monitors here, and every time I switch monitors, with my mouse, if I click on something else, it does flicker to kind of reset. So I apologize for that. It is annoying. I'm seeing it in the corner of my eye. I'll try to minimize it, but I got a lot going on here on the screen. So
I'd love
do you guys want to look at some charts today, or what do we?
I want to make one more comment. I just would. I'd love to see this kind of flush out as like a way of like truly measuring, like it's somebody. How do you measure the credibility of an influencer? And like, I think that's one thing that hasn't been answered. Like I have tons of, non-crypto industry friends who, yes, I have friends, believe it or not. And their first inroad to crypto outside of me is like what they see on TikTok or what they see on, YouTube. And some of the people, without naming any names, they've come across some streamers that I'm like, get the fuck away from that person. Like, do not text me what this person is saying and ask for my thoughts. And like having some outlet that can kind of measure the kind of social credit and quality of an influencer in a particular segment, I think is super important. Maybe this is the way to do it.
I don't know. We'll say I really don't like how there's no withdrawal function, from the jump. Like something about that just stinks. I hope they get something like that implemented quickly.
I mean, I can tell you with the, I think with the, some of the parties that are involved, like some of the bigger names and, some exchanges, and like, I would be shocked if it didn't end up in, into a, going on to a major fairly quickly, provided that like the market's going to be the determinant of that, right? If this has virality and it grows into something and isn't, a complete, isn't kind of written off, then yeah, maybe something does happen.
I mean, just on a pure volume basis of what's trading, like it makes sense to be listed. I think we'll see people listing it. I bet you, Justin Justin's son, they own Poloniex. So if he's pumping a couple $1 million into his own profile here,
he is.
He's probably
he definitely is.
Yeah, no, for sure he is. I mean,
he just hit the leaderboard at 6. That is not suddenly 100,000 people. Actually, 2 of my buddies did buy some. They were just bragging to me. That's how I found out. But yeah, no, he's
remarkable.
That's a good point. I forgot he owns Poloniex.
We're gonna get a tweet that says, "Look at these 4,800 accounts on BitClout that all bought my token."
Yeah,
yeah.
Sorry, there's only like 500 accounts that exist right now.
Yeah. So I mean, it is exciting.
Wait a second.
On ground zero. Go ahead. Yeah.
It says, I just clicked on Justin Tron on the BitClout site. It says no one owns Justin Tron coin yet.
You know what? But does
that mean that he's the only one that has fucking?
No. In his defense, my profile says that too, and I know because I bought some, my buddy bought some, so like at least 2 of us held. I don't think it's updating properly in that sense, but I wouldn't be too shocked. And what's really sick is that in this case, I mean, he pumped one of my buddy's bags because like my buddy got it like ground zero. He's like, Justin Ton, I'm going in, and then like obviously he's now claimed his account. I bet you he bought after him, so that's kind of cool.
Well, what kind of strategies are there? Like, is it do you buy the Scooter Braun client list? Do you buy? Yeah, exactly. Do you?
That was my strategy.
Yes, that was mine too. Like obviously the big tech names like Chamath, Naval, Elon, Sam, Mark Cuban, they're all those all make, you know, Balaji, like those all make tons of sense. Vitalik looks cheap actually.
He does at 15. So I mean, you got to think. I'm thinking in terms of like, what are the things that will make a profile stand out or get better or be worth more? And so on the one hand, you have obvious, if they're involved, if they're somehow early investors, then you can bet on them probably standing out early. Secondly, if they are big on social media, right? Do I want to pick up a big celebrity who doesn't really go on social media, who's maybe trying to shy away from everything? Or do I want to go and look at the Instagram rich list and find out, you know, who's at the top of that, who's really killing it on Instagram, because they're all about monetization. They're going to be standing out here. They're going to be interested. And then of course, the big one is who actually claimed their profile. If a profile has been claimed, that is 100% final confirmation they are on the platform, and you can only assume that they're going to be active on there. And therefore, and I think that's the biggest one, because, you know, you could get somebody like Elon Musk, richest guy in the world, big tech guy, very popular, into crypto, talking about it on his Twitter. But if he never claims this profile, holding that coin will never get you any closer to him. And so you have to think about, you know, the ultimate question: will they claim? Will they join? Will they show up?
I was just thinking. So what's to stop me from just rug pulling everybody that buys my coin? Like, you know, I delete my Twitter account, and you know,
you might lose a lot of clout. And I guess that's
now,
yeah. I guess that's the nature
of it. You don't give a fuck,
then.
Yeah.
But that would hurt your brand, presumably, right? So it may be the case where like Cristiano Ronaldo is like, I'm going to retire, and just rug pulls his whole thing. Like, but you know, good luck recovering from that on his Instagram, which is, I think he's at the top of the rich list over there. So
I think it's a way for them to just like utilize, like if they're doing it, the people, I mean, this is all going to flush out, but just speculative here. Like, you know, Justin Bieber has $30 million locked in his profile. Like his, you know, his users have coins. Like he's going to want to do things with that or with the coin to give some type of, you know, whether it's like some level of VIP or something. There's some use case for it that is, you know, that has yet to be discovered that I think will be really interesting.
Yeah, and it may turn into a case, I'm going to refresh here, so black flicker, but it may be the case too where you get one or two celebrities who come out and do something special for their fans, and then it's like this social pressure, like, you know what, but if you hold my coin, I'm going to do this. I mean, it's really bound only by human sort of ingenuity, greed, ego, and those are things that we can rely on. You know?
Or it becomes a thing like
humans aren't changing.
Having only, you know, owning a scarce Elon Musk coin just becomes
an NFT,
a thing. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cool with the timing, because I mean, me personally missed out on anything direct NFT. Like I have NFT exposure through projects, but I never actually went and bought any of those weird pixelated meme shits, and that's fine. I don't really like the lack of liquidity on it. I don't understand it, so I stay away. But for this, I felt like, you know, the market is so hot for this kind of thing, right? You now have what is essentially an NFT for a person, but it's more like also a stock, you know, a share of their stock. I mean, it's fascinating to say the least. We've been obviously talking about it all week. I'm just super pumped to just keep refreshing and see how it all goes. And this is day one, crazy pump. You know, there are probably going to be some crazy dumps. Once the prices started going down and people bought too much and they're like, oh, and it'll become a market. So where does the dust settle? Who claims? And, you know, what other features get added to it? It is very OG looking right now, pretty basic text, HTML kind of thing. So many things that, you know, and I want to know more about the blockchain too. And like Messi says, I want to know when withdrawal, like there's a lot of questions left.
All I got to say is, you know, everybody watching right now, get in there, buy my coin, and I will use that to pay my taxes that I owe from 2020. And then I will delete my Twitter account and I will rug pull you after I've already gotten my pound of flesh. So,
excuse me, guys, while I go and sell that, I'm going to front run the crowd here.
Yeah, you know, go ahead. Let's go.
So once you get this thing, like, let's play the game of, okay, it's 6 months later, it's a year later, this thing's kind of well endowed, it's there, it's liquid, and now you have press conferences, and somebody comes on and says basically what you just said. like that would affect price action. There will be like, there'll be bots that are like, what's he going to say? Like, it's just kind of fascinating. It's kind of ridiculous.
That's what I'm excited to see how the trading is going to really open up on it, and like who's going to get in. There's people that are just dig in the once there's more data and start trying to find the efficiencies and the correlations between two names, and it'll just turn into a market.
Yeah. And it'll become, like, oh, I have a speech today. And for the most part, I think people who aren't on here won't really care. They're like, oh, what are those nerds in crypto doing to my name? Like, I don't care. But the guys who are on here, who are trying to be at the top of the leaderboard, who do want their brand to be the most successful, they're going to be, it's kind of Black Mirror like, it's like, should I have eaten that pizza last night? Should I be saying this thing? Like, you're going to want to say and do whatever drives the most value to your brand, period. And now you have sort of a measuring stick. It's going to be kind of freaky.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Let's do some charts. I think a lot of people here are
let's get into it. I mean, there's a really, really nice looking Bitcoin chart here. Let's just start with the king. And I should start even further back. Let's go to the weekly. We put this out today in our newsletter, and it's not great. It's not great. It's not bad. We're in a bullish uptrend period, but when you make a high like this, and it did occur on the weekend, so you got to keep that in mind. But it was like a perfect tag of this fib extension, first of all. So let's keep that in mind. Actually, this was drawn on a log chart, so I should factor that in. But okay, so yeah, it wasn't. I was like, well, that's weird. But look, when this high came in, and then you look at momentum indicators, already kind of rolling over, it just looks tired. And that was sort of my thinking today in the newsletter. It's not about like, it's a bear market, that was the top, but it does look exhausted. And so on a weekly, that's kind of where I started my analysis today. But then you zoom in and okay, weekend, fake out, come right back and open the new week right where it closed. That's something we see all the time. And but now it's just pump chaser zone, bullish reversal. So it's not looking bad. It's not looking bad. That's all I got for Bitcoin. I mean, on the high time frames, this is not really where I rush in to invest. That's, if I buy Bitcoin right now, it's so that I can go and spend it on something like Algo. Algo down here is probably my favorite chart versus Bitcoin. It is, it's from the Chaos PRZ video I did last week, and I thought I should probably go trade this because part of the video was like, question mark, are we back into an area where I should be interested? How did that work out the last few times? And then are we going to go up here and resolve this chaos level? If that happens, I'm just going to laugh because this tool is ridiculous. But that's probably my favorite versus Bitcoin. And then the only other one, again, from our newsletter today that I actually got a price alert on just as we were going live on the USD pair is Alpha. Yeah. So I saw you tweeted something about Alpha. Rob, what do you got on Alpha?
Yeah. No,
Tom Shaughnessy or something.
Yeah, integration with Binance Smart Chain, letting the Binance degens yield farm on leverage, and you just called them out as being one of the top best teams out there. So I think the Binance push was pretty positive for Alpha today. Even when Bitcoin was making lows, you could see that there were some people in Alpha buying it pretty aggressively this morning. I feel like it can run. I mean,
it's been really strong, and they do have fundamental catalysts. I think the new token economics, as well as staking, are coming out in the next month. Really interesting, just how many altcoins and, Alpha, if you look at the diagonal, has already broken. But I mean, there's so many like structures that are resolving at the end of this month or in early April. And it just makes you wonder, it kind of looks like, the entire market is poised to pick a direction at once. So, I wonder up or down. Part of me is looking at Bitcoin at, almost $60,000 right here and wondering, who the fuck is going to buy that? Like, why would you buy it? I would not buy it.
It's looking super expensive, and we're seeing it on the chart. The exhaustion we talked about with the lack of volume, a bit of divergence on momentum. And here's an interesting thing. I mean, altcoins have been doing well this year versus USD. Some of them have been outperforming Bitcoin, but they're all generally doing well with USD. Why? Because the king, Bitcoin's lifting them up. And we get to that point in a cycle where that liquidity then rotates. And I thought in my head, we've had that already, right? Bitcoin pairs showing this kind of breakout, obviously, this year. But now I'm starting to think, have we really seen it? Because Bitcoin hasn't actually cooled down hardly at all. And so are we maybe heading into a place where Bitcoin is going to, get out of the spotlight here, maybe grinding higher? This chart, kind of reminds me like maybe we see something like we did on Ethereum, where it was just kind of grinding higher for, the better part of 2 months. And then we see Bitcoin dominance perhaps just stuck in this range here. And if that breaks down, which would happen if Ethereum breaks out, then we may see, a whole other leg on this sort of risk on window, which is pretty incredible to think about because alts are already in the sky versus USD. And if you see here, this is probably the most exciting chart in crypto right now. And that's Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Now, I don't know what it did today. I haven't actually had a chance to look. Oh, it's got an M in it. So we'll see. But generally speaking, down into this reload zone, you want to see signs of bullish reversal. And that's exactly what we've got. We've got bullish divergence on momentum indicators. Right here, we had a little breakout in buy volume as it came back up. New little confirmation of structure. And now back in. So it's a bit of a chop zone, but anything above 0.03 to me is really promising for Ethereum, and that's really the thing that's going to move the needle.
Higher
versus
time frames, we're
Bitcoin
seeing
and
potential double bottom on Ethereum. I just don't see a situation where we've got confirmation. We've got this dovish outlook by the Fed. You've got stimulus checks hitting. These people take that money and they buy altcoins with it. The reason is because nobody wants to, buy 0.01 BTC with their stimulus check. I mean, you feel like a loser. You feel like you don't have anything. But at the same time, I could come in and I could be a whole ether with my stimulus check, or at least close to a whole ether, depending on how much you got. But it just doesn't make sense. One of the most interesting things to me, and I was talking about this a little bit on Discord a couple of days ago, with Bitcoin, recently we made that higher high, but it was a bearish divergence. Like we pushed up there and we, for the first time, really saw, signs of exhaustion on that Bitcoin side, which is interesting, because Ethereum is performing as well, but Ethereum didn't make that higher high. And you could argue, well, it made that lower high, which is not a good thing. That's a bearish signal, but it could also be consolidating, waiting for its moment in the sun, waiting to punch up. We don't have that sign of exhaustion on the bullish side for Ethereum yet. So I'm hoping that, in the coming week, month, whenever, right now what Bitcoin can do is confirm that it is, in fact, hey, we're exhausted a little bit. We're going to cool off. We're not going to 100K in 2 weeks. And that will really allow altcoins some time to run and to breathe. And hell, I mean, even a 5x versus Bitcoin, would be astounding right now. And I think we're in a position to where, everybody's expectations are so high. I would highly doubt that most people would be, taking profit after a move like that. So, if you're on the ball and you're watching everything and, and you have things that go 3 to 5x, I definitely think that, that it's time to unload that. I'm looking at Bitcoin and, a lot of people are saying super cycle this and that, which maybe, but to me, it just sounds like top talk. I've heard that shit before. In 2017, people were talking about, institutional investors and things like that. And, now people are talking about, up only forever. Bitcoin's at $60,000. I mean, realistically, like, even with the markets being bullish, how much fucking longer does that last?
Well, it depends. I mean,
yeah, it depends on your buyer profile. What do you think?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It is the buyer profile. It is, Morgan Stanley finally announcing that they're making Bitcoin available to their wealth managers and their client base, which is a big move. They're big. If the institutional buying, you get a handful more of the micro strategies and Teslas that they don't care 60,000, 50,000, 45,000, whatever. That's the type of bid you want in the market. I don't think we don't want to see the retail mania. I think you want to see that. To me, it's still the early innings for institutional buying into this. And I personally would love to see more of them put their money where their mouth is. And you saw like kind of a cryptic text tweet by the NYDIG. They're saying, wait till you see some of the headlines this week. There's going to be some exciting new players in the arena. So I think that's, if we do get that institutional buying in the billions, then that's what we really want to see.
It does kind of feel like the institutional momentum, has kind of seized up recently. We had all of those big, announcements where, Saylor is buying Bitcoin, Saylor buys more Bitcoin. And people have started joking that, their latest tweets about buying Bitcoin are almost like tweets from somebody that found an old BitMEX Dust account, and just
it was like I just 100x them.
Yeah, bought just a little bit more, because you've got a fucking problem. What's the latest MicroStrategy tweet going to be? We've managed to acquire 3 more Bitcoin at a price of $58,000. These guys are clearly out of ammo. They've taken debt out. They've bought Bitcoin with that debt. I think they've taken more debt out, and they bought Bitcoin with that debt. I don't necessarily see how that kind of behavior, establishes a valid precedent for more institutional buyers coming in. It almost at this point, Saylor doesn't look so much like a genius as he does a fucking gambler. That's crazy to me. I would not be going out right now and taking out a loan for any kind of size.
Where would you put? I had a trader, a non-crypto options trader, last week asked me a question, and like he actually is on a chat with like a shit ton of other traders, and all they do all day is make bets in that chat. And they have a 40,000, 100,000 risk reversal. So like basically, where would you price odds on like which one is going to touch first? Like if you had to say like, if you had to make a market on like basically you'd pay somebody to say like over no expiration period, like is it going to touch 40,000 or 100,000 first? Which one do you think the answer to that is?
I would probably bet on 100,000 there.
100,000 before 40,000. And what kind of odds would you give me to like for that to happen?
I would say odds of the 100,000 touch happening are probably close to 100%.
Before the 40.
Oh, before the 40? Maybe 65, 35 or something like that, in my opinion. I definitely.
Robbie, where'd you put it at?
I think it's got to be greater than 50% to the 40.
They were trading it at like 2.6 to 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
To the upside.
I think that's mispriced personally. I think you could structure something better than that in the market. I would imagine, but let's see. We can go price it up. I think that's kind of skewed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's right, but
it's just still like, even then, if I was planning on, let's say, I've got some good alt pumps and, I want to rotate to Bitcoin, and I'm looking at Bitcoin right now and the amount of upside, we're looking from 60,000 to, around 100,000. It's about, 50-60% upside. But what's the risk of entering a position like that? I'm a firm believer that Bitcoin is going to touch 100K. I think we're going to go a bit beyond 100K. People will start throwing out outrageous targets at that point.
Hxro Yeah, Hero
250.
Wix touch by June 25th is it's a 30% probability, 29.7% right now.
By June.
June 25th to touch 100K.
I mean, that's some decent odds.
Yeah, I think so.
What is it to touch?
It's 3.37 to 1. 29.
Let's pull it up.
29.6% now market probability.
Yeah, let's pull it up so people can see what we're doing here. Get on there. Oh, my login. Okay, I'll do it over here.
Seems like a great thing to sell if you own a shit ton of Bitcoin.
Yep.
I mean, it's the 2.6 to 1 odds that you were talking about. Just seems like the skew is so jacked. Like the calls.
Well, both the call and the put are jacked, aren't they?
I don't know, but for it to be that sort of breakdown for between, look at the intrinsic value. We're trading 58,000 right now.
Right.
$18,000 to move to 40, and there's $42,000 to move to 100. That it doesn't. Something just it seems off, but maybe the market is that skewed. Really.
I mean, 40 is giving you to touch downside. It's only giving you 1 point. Yeah. Is that possible? 65% probability right now.
Yeah, that's saying that it's more likely than the
Yeah.
There's no question to me.
It also means that put vol is
it's more likely that we'll tag
40, way more.
Fuck
yeah. I mean, 2 times more effectively.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you should put on that.
Yeah. If you guys are watching and you're like, what are these guys talking about? Bunch of options bros. I'm with you.
This is what old options guys do all day.
When I see like put vol is jacked, I'm just like the put vol's jacked. I'm just like, okay. I just went cross-eyed just there. But we are coming up on the hour. It is 10 minutes to go. We've got a few requests here for charts. Is there anything you guys wanted to make sure we get in today? Messiah, I know somebody asked about BNT. We got a request here for Ripple. It is climbing. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'd like to look at BNT. My name's Dan, and I'm a bag holder.
Yeah.
All right. Take a look at old BNT.
I just saw
versus USD or Bitcoin.
Versus Bitcoin, it's not doing much.
See?
It's just kind of consolidating on what could be support. Versus USD looks interesting. We've got those 2 pushes. I definitely am expecting a third push. I don't think there is a reality where Bancor BNT doesn't go to $15. They've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline. A lot of news. I really do think that there's going to be a lot of hype surrounding level 2. I've heard that there's ways to utilize level 2 with things like Bancor where people don't even realize they're using it. And I'm not quite sure what that entails, but I mean it would be a killer app to what if I could make a trade on Bancor and automatically my assets are bridged over to level 2, whatever needs to happen happens, and then they're bridged back to L1. It could reduce gas prices by a lot, and I think they're actually working on something like that, which is interesting. But I mean, for me, it looks pretty good. I do question how much longer it's going to take, before this next leg up. But one thing about Bancor, it's so liquid that when a direction is chosen and when it makes up its mind, it's kind of a freight train in whatever direction it goes in. It moves slow, but it's going to go in that direction.
Well, and it moves slow for now, I guess you're saying. I mean, this chart looks pretty bullish, but I know what you mean because you watch it day to day, and it's not mooning by any stretch of the imagination, but that tends to come late in the move. And what I'm seeing here looks like the earlier days of Matic, maybe over the last month. For those of you who haven't looked at that chart, you can see what I mean right here.
Matic is such a gem.
Such a gem. And this is Bancor. This is what I'm talking about right here, where it's kind of like, okay, not doing too crazy. And then it's just like, oh.
By the way,
hello.
the Matic team, I mean,
And
Rob and I spent some time with them in Korea. Like, what a great group of guys. Hard fucking workers. They deserve, They deserve their place in this.
Dude, that chart was sideways for like 2 years. Like, talk about hell.
And they were
Yeah.
they were victim of that Sybil attack where people like bought up the spot, took out a massive leverage short, and then literally pulled the rug on the pump and dump on that thing, which was insane.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I remember that because I was, wow, it looks tiny now, but this was it. And this was like, November 2019. Yeah, this was November 2019 when, the market wasn't that hot. I mean, this was the hottest coin during those 2 weeks. Everyone was like, oh, Matic's going to be the future. The people were levering up. And it washed the entire book overnight. And to tell you what, I was talking about shorting it the night before, and I was like so salty because I woke up the next day. I was like, well, I didn't think it was going to go that fucking far. And it was right here. There was like a beautiful short setup that came in, bearish divergence, all this stuff. And the whole world was talking about Matic. We're still kind of in a bear. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to short it. And I didn't. The next day I woke up, I was waiting for the setup to come in, and oops.
If you had to take a poll and say, what burns more, missing a ridiculous trade or getting in a trade and getting rinsed?
Getting rinsed.
They both suck. It is really a toss-up.
Getting rinsed
I think
is definitely worse.
I think at the end of the day, getting rinsed is worse. But I think maybe it's just underrated, like the stress. Like I was talking about this last time, like with the bull market, people are like, oh man, I wish I was around in 2017. I'm like, bro, you think it's easy? You think it's fun to sit around every day and every coin you just were looking at is up 17x? Like it
just
is
remember,
very stressful.
Right. Everything you look at, when you look at a chart, you have the benefit of hindsight.
Yep.
And in that moment, like that chart, like remove everything to the right of those nasty red candles, and like, what is your attitude about that? Suddenly Matic became the biggest group of scammers, and they probably got trolled to hell, had their life threatened multiple times, like every motherfucking asshole in crypto likes to do when things don't go their way. Like, it's crazy, right? And like, you have the benefit of hindsight, and
I do remember that. Yeah,
you got to remember, like, these
they were tweeting the next day, like, "Sorry guys, we don't know what happened." And
this is why you want to, like, in my mind, like, it's either you want to be there, like, right on the open, and take advantage of that initial hype cycle and trade it opportunistically, or wait for things to kind of flush out and, like, it sounds crazy, but like, understand where the tech's going and like be there for the tech, because I really feel strongly that crypto is kind of coming into this chapter where, innovation is still crazy and like it's so cutting edge and it's so unknown, i.e. like the launch of BitClout today. But like, we're definitely getting to a point where it's starting to permeate into the real world, and this technology is going to start finding a footprint in, crossing over outside of this little bubble that we're in. So good for Matic, man. Polygon.
Yeah. And it's all about, I felt bad too. I mean, if you look at the time of it, it was about middle of the night for them. And they're in India. And so, imagine waking up, you're working on this project. You've just been, on a nice little uptrend, stealing the fire from the market. Everyone's fired up about your product. And then you wake up the next day and it just looks like a rug pull. It's less like, who did that to our coin? And God forbid they had anything in a port tracker just for shits. And they're like, oh, like our 42 million team tokens or whatever are worth. And then you wake up like, oh, I felt bad. And, they were
how about working,
of course,
100 hours a week for years, giving up your whole life for this. And then that happens. And then on top of it, everybody turns against you on it because it's something that was out of your control.
Blames you for it.
It's crazy.
Well,
blames you for it. It's assuming that you just got rich.
Right.
That's one of the it's a feature and a bug of being able to trade such early stage
Wild West, man.
I mean, it really and then on top of that, you've got leverage on some of those entities as well. It's it's a greater level of volatility and potential volatility than what we're used to, or what the trading world is used to. So I mean, it gets nutty. I think that, like, thinking about some of these alts in Bitcoin terms here and in Ethereum terms here, that looking at some of those charts can get the mental masturbation like really high. I mean, some of these coins in Bitcoin terms can really run here. And that, to me, I mean, like we saw at the end of 17, that can be the craziest market to trade, period, is when, you know, the Bitcoin pairs are running. And I do think
it's all levered up.
Yeah, it's a different world. Not many people are trading against the Bitcoin pair anymore. It used to be that way, kind of like in BitClout, where you have to buy that BitClout to buy all these other creator coin altcoins. You can't do it with anything else. That's kind of how it used to be in crypto. You needed the Bitcoin to go and ape into altcoins, and it's just not the case anymore. So that's my big thing. I'm wondering if these charts in Bitcoin terms, the Bitcoin pairs, if maybe that it's not gonna come to this time around. That massive opportunity is not gonna be there. But I don't think it works that way. So I don't know. We can hope that we see some.
It'll be interesting to see, you know. I mean, but you raise an important question, and it's something that we all should revisit as traders, because we're so good at looking back at what happened last time and just, you know, extrapolating forward. Well, 2017, you know, it peaked at the end of the year and it was a cycle, and then we had a bear market. So like this cycle, for sure, it's going to be a bullish year. And then, you know, at the end of the year, like these kind of assumptions, and I'm seeing them baked into the psychology of the market, and they're often more harmful than good. Anytime you stop looking at something because you assume that you know a truth about it, it bites you in the ass. And so you raise an important question, you know, will this time be the same? Will all these new on-ramps and USDT pairs, will they water down the verse Bitcoin potential? Will the institutional purchase on Bitcoin water down the ability of these alts to catch up versus? Like, there's a lot of things we shouldn't be assuming. And that's also why I just love charts, and I love what we do here at Hero Labs, because every week I'm just in here, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen, but let's chart it. Let's see if we can pull out some edge, and try not to make too many big, broad predictions, because at the end of the day, those are fun and they're sexy and they're hilarious, but they're not that valuable.
Well, how about even just on a little different twist, the fact that right now, like in today's market, on Binance and on FTX and on these platforms, you can actually short alts a lot easier than you could in 17. In 17, you could short maybe a handful of them. And for a lot of them, you'd have to go through the motions of actually borrowing the coin to sell it, like the old school days of shorting assets. But now you can actually get in there with perpetual futures on these alts and with quarterlies, and you can actually short them. So is that gonna also make some of the rallies a little harder, because you're fighting against risk capital that's going to get in there and short more of these derivatives?
Or they end up jumpier, right? Because you get is it because you get over leveraged shorts?
Both.
Right.
Yeah.
You kind of get this like jump type of market state.
Yeah.
And people playing the funding rates and all that stuff.
But I agree.
And that's a really good point too.
The funding rates, and also like, you know, listing a token that is already inherently kind of levered against an underlier. And even if it's doing $5 million a day of volume, like that's not enough to really support the weight of a derivative pounding against it. And so you kind of have to have this, like, I find it interesting when, you know, when new tokens suddenly list perps alongside of their token, thinking it's like it's helpful. It definitely creates more trade. It puts a lot of trust. You have to put a lot of trust into the professional trading desks, that they're not using it as a way to just like effectively sell into, you know, basically sell gamma, like sell into their existing long positions, because the market can only take so much of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, a lot of them are. I mean, there's two sides to the market, and in mature markets, longs and shorts, they both exist. So if you're selling this optionality and you're selling some of this stuff, then you better be prepared to see the GameStop type, where
for sure
there's going to be some people who might want to run your stops because the liquidity to keep stuff tame or in line, it's not as deep in these things. So is that the FTT chart you're looking at? That thing's been a beauty.
That is, yeah. Doesn't resist, man. It's still moving.
Would it be
$40 now, with a high of about 43 last week?
Are they getting the naming rights
to? It's just kind of grinding higher.
Are they getting the naming rights to the Miami Heat Arena?
You're making a run at it.
What?
I mean, look,
You heard that or no?
He made a run at Barstool Sports. So their Blockfolio is the sponsor for Davey Day Trader and his biggest client ever. I think FTX they're making a move for Miami Heat Stadium, and why not? I mean, who else is going to throw big money at it right now? Like, I think it can
Sam's awesome, man.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great.
Yeah, not afraid to make a splash, and he's moving fast. I'm going to switch back to video here, guys, as we are getting to the top of the hour. The last thing I'm going to say about BitClout today, aside from, Godspeed and let's pray, is at the top of the BitClout Pulse page, just as I was like with you guys, I mean, I just noticed this as I refreshed it. They apparently have their own coin now. And so it's BitClout Pulse, currently trading or whatever at priced at 4,200. And they said, unlock features by buying our creator coin. More features to come soon. So that, to me, speaks to like a DEX tools, DEX T. It's a bit of that picks and shovels kind of thing. If this is going to go crazy, if this is going to become the coin market cap of BitClout, I want a bit of that coin. I did ape into a little bit of that earlier in the show on the back end here because I'm just like, fuck it. It's day 1, hour 2. I'm not too worried. Like it's impossible to value this stuff right now with any kind of model. It doesn't exist. I've got to just, take a little risk here. So anyways, BitClout Pulse has a coin. We'll see if that turns into a DEX T type thing, which by the way has been mooning after like a long consolidation for 2 months now.
Oh,
it's
really?
Like 48. Oh yeah. It was chilling at like 10 cents sideways for a while, 10 or 20. I forget what it was. I think 10. And we actually featured it on the stream, and it was just one of those like, this looks fucking bullish. And I didn't actually trade that one, but man, it's like 5x since then.
It seems just getting a risk on feeling. Getting a risk on feeling.
It does, and it's crazy to me. I mean, I look at the charts, I see the lack of momentum, I see the lack of volume, so I'm like, okay, whatever. But it is crazy to me, like, you break to 62K, make an all-time high, and it's 4 days later, and there's this like weird sense of in the market, like, it's almost this like we're so spoiled lately with dopamine that if it's not a pump day, it's a dump day in our minds.
Guys,
no sideways, up
Cardano has a $42.5 billion market cap.
I'm still waiting on my short. I don't know when their launch comes, but I would like to sell the news on
somebody
the
explain it.
I mean,
where does the shit go?
I don't know. I guess Charles is solving. He is banking the unbanked. He's doing everything right.
ADA is DeFi now, bro. Haven't you heard?
Is it?
No, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if this is all some big move up into a launch of some kind, like a mainnet, I want to sell the news. And, not because I'm a hater. That's just the timeless trade, man. It's a great trade. It happens. Mainnet launch. People say, oh, I'm going to buy now because when the mainnet goes live, demand is going to be through the roof. But by the time it gets there, the speculators have taken it so far ahead of what actual demand could ever exist on day 1 of a launch. It sells.
That is a maturing market.
Yeah,
because that's what it's supposed to do.
I got to remind myself, Johnny, write that down on our list of things to actually go and do. I'm gonna go look and find out what the date is or whatever. You know, what
There
is
is.
coming up?
There is.
Is that the joke, that there's just nothing coming?
I don't know. When is it? There's no date.
When ADA launch? Okay, well, I got to figure that out. If anyone in the chat knows, DM me on Twitter at RandomTask555. You guys can catch me on Friday live here on Hero Labs live at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be doing lots of videos throughout the week. You can follow us on Twitter at Real Hero Labs. Cryptomessiah, you know well. His Twitter is Cryptomessiah. And Rob Levy and Hero BTC. That's Dan Gunsberg. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. It's been a blast. Have a wonderful day. Trade safe. Always play from a position of strength. Take care.
Take care.